Hi, Steve Addison here for the Movements Podcast. Podcast for people who want to multiply disciples and churches everywhere. Today we're talking to Pavel and Danny about getting started in the Czech Republic.
I need to go back to 1979 or 80 when I first saw someone coming to me and asking a question. Oh, I see you're a Christian and you are a happy guy. How could I get there? And I didn't know what to say. I knew the gospel as a principle, but how to guide someone to Jesus, to accept him, I wasn't sure. So that was an experience which then, set the direction. I need to learn. I need to understand more. And it was 10 years before so-called revolution, still under communism. So after the revolution, which took place in 1989, we started to develop because we could go out, we could do things with non-believers, we could meet anywhere. So we started to do things, and 1993 we started a new church with no theology or whatever preparation, no experience, just being basically underground or just in some forms which were allowed. But now we're free. What are we going to do? But the Lord blessed it. We started as 6 people with, I would say, Christian genealogy. Mm-hmm. But in 6 years, we were over 70. Only 6 people with Christian genealogy. I mean, all these new people were new believers. So I could see, Jesus is still alive. And he is changing lives of people. So that's the beginning. When we saw people changed, and, developing relationships different and everything. I say it's like a drug, a positive drug, which you want to see more. So we started this church. I was a pastor of it full-time, 10.5 years. We started just as in our jobs before. So altogether, I was there I think 12 years or so. But then I felt very clearly that my time there is over, that the church does not need me anymore, because since the very beginning, I was teaching the new people to guide a small group, to read the Bible, and so on. And so I felt clearly to step out of all the positions. And 2006, we've met with my wife, Danka. We've met Curtis Sargent, and that 1.5 hours meeting changed. Basically, that was the answer. So I know I should finish that. What are we going to do now? And the meeting with Curtis was the answer. We always were doing small groups, but now, these small groups can be churches, and they can multiply like rabbits, and so on. So we started to develop. As we were leaving the meeting, he gave us a packet of DVDs with videos where he's teaching people going to the Asia somewhere, and a book by someone else, and so on. So we needed to process it in a few months, and just tried. And, it was heavy, difficult. We had no experience in this area, but the Lord has blessed it. And some Christians, our friends, joined us. And this way it started slowly. So it's 2006 when we started this journey towards like house churches or simple churches and movement of these. Our picture of church where we grew up was the classic. Having, not necessarily one pastor, but several like preaching brothers, and the classic form, not necessarily building, but a place to meet 20, 30, 50, and how many people, and so on. And now it was the small groups can operate as churches. They can do everything what church should do as the Bible, as the New Testament describes it. So the small group, like, 5, 6, 10 people, can be a church having communion, having baptisms, and all the stuff which the church should do. That was like, wow, okay, so we don't need to wait till these potential leaders grow and they are on certain level and then appoint them and something, but they can grow from as they can read. They can guide the small churches, and basically that's what we developed at the moment as a precious thing for us, is a network of these, because it's not separate little groups here and there, but it's a network, and the network is on two levels. One level is on is the leaders of these small churches, the simple churches, and the other level is everyone. So at the moment we have, I don't know how many, Danny would know, how many of these house churches, but we try to stay connected as leaders somehow, not necessarily everyone, but in different structures, to encourage each other, to teach, to correct, to learn, to study, to solve problems, and so on. And it's on the leadership level. And the other is like several times a year, twice or three times a year, we have like weekend meeting where anyone can come for the retreat, so to say. So like in was it October last year, we had almost 100 people there.
And Danny, have you got some idea of how many churches you've got?
I think around the country in the network, we have about 10 to 12 simple churches, and also a lot more around like Discovery Bible studies, and also some, like we call it, missional teams with some people from legacy churches who are trying to reach their friends. There are some second generation churches. So I would say we see more like generations of disciples. For generations of churches, we don't see that far.
Pavel, what was the transition like from, leading a church of 70 and now starting to helping small groups become churches?
We needed to study it in the Bible first to understand, and then we just encouraged the growth. So we had friends from different places, and we started to tell them, if you have new people around you, you can start the Discovery Bible study with them. That was the first step, different levels as we were learning it. So you can be a church. And we did like the Acts 2 study and so on. And they said, oh, we are a church. We are doing everything besides this and this. And so do you need any help to do these, which you don't do yet, like baptism, for example, or so. But it was very clear, very easy for them to understand as they read the book of Acts and understood, that's the manual, what we can follow. That's what Jesus wanted the disciples to do. And we should do that also.
Okay.
So I think it was not a big difference for us. For people from the legacy churches, it was kind of strange. What, small groups baptizing people and so on. But as I do the study with them now, with the people from the legacy churches, so I say, is it defined by number? If there were 30, you would be okay. What if there were 10? Would you be okay doing this? And so on. I said, oh, okay. There is no limit of the number in the book of Acts. So maybe. And one big brother of one denomination in the Czech Republic, as he was listening to the stories, like the young people are baptizing young people, I said, okay. I understand the context. Context. So basically, he understood it's in the Bible. There is no limit, and it's not limited to a pastor or ordained person. It's disciples baptizing disciples if they, make them disciples, and they should help them to grow in Jesus and in knowing the word and changing lives. So he understood, okay, that's the context, but still he is in the thinking of, pastor should do that, normally.
Yeah.
But he understood that in the context of movement, it might be different because there will be not enough pastors in the movement.
Danny, while you were growing up while this change was taking place, what impact did it have on you?
So at that time, I mean, my parents were always like missionally focused, so that was a great place to grow up and have people in our house to learn what Jesus is doing in everyday lives. And then I was at that time when the transition with my parents, like when they transitioned to the simple church model, I was still a youth group leader in the Legacy Church. So at that time, I decided to still keep for a few years to stay in the Legacy Church. Then I went for my studies, and when I come back, I decided to join this simple church movement with my wife, and we started a church in our home. So I will share one I would say recent story. So there was an initiative which we call Media to Movement, that we also have some Facebook advertisements for like some short stories with people meeting Jesus, and then people can click and like say, I want to try Discovery, and we first invite them to Discovery Bible Study online. And when they are like more interested, we try to then connect them to someone in face to face. And so we started this Discovery online group, like I think 1 year ago, and maybe 30 new people went through it. Most of them were like somewhat maybe believers. There were but there were some that were like searching, and there was one lady who very quickly like realized what Jesus has done for her, so she accepted her into her life, and then a few months later we talked with her. The ladies went with some discipleship lessons with her, and then they met for the first time and got her baptized in the summer. And now so there's still not enough people around her like that they could meet for church, so we still meet like as an online church now, but it's great that she wants to share with her husband and others around her.
We moved from the eastern corner of the country to Prague, to our capital city, and it was about a year ago. And we started to develop some contacts through business and so on. And I joined, it was in fall, I joined one professional club, but it's open club. It's not connected with one company. It's about public speaking and so on. People are learning that. And so I said, I would see what are they doing there. So I joined them. It's open. Anyone can come. And after the 2 hours program, they go to the pub just to talk. And so I went, and after being there 8 times in the club, I had 3 men from there to be at my Discovery Bible study. So even though people say that Czech Republic is the most atheistic country, still there are hungry people, spiritually hungry. And one of them came even with his wife, and a young guy, about 30 plus, then had several talks with me on like one-on-one. And at certain point, he accepted Jesus. We haven't baptized him yet because we moved back to our city of Ostrava in the eastern corner, but of the country. But in a few weeks, we are going there again, and we'll speak about baptism. Hopefully, it will happen. Someone else is taking care for him in the meantime. So it's a joy. Total stranger for me 3 months ago. And now his precious brother changing his life. It's a joy. And that's the most recent.
Right.
And Pavel, you and Dunker have moving into Prague. What's prompted that?
It's temporarily. We are there last year, 2024. We were there for 7 months. And it was 3.5 in spring and 3.5 in fall. I would need to start something a little bit before that, as we were in contact with Steve Smith. It's many years ago now. I think we started 2015. That was our first connection. And at certain point, Steve, he offered us a coaching. So we were with him like once in 6 weeks or 2 months. And at certain point, he said, you have something what many Christians in your country probably want to have, which is, you know how to connect with the non-believers and how to serve effectively there among them, not just making the church stuff, hoping that the people would come. So we were talking with Steve about that for some time. And to make it short, we started the training. And as we were sharing our stories, some of the Christians from the legacy churches started to ask us questions. How do you get these non-believers to your Bible study, for example? And by these questions, we could just answer, and a training developed, which we call Bridges to People. So the training Bridges to People started with one youth group, and then was a little group in one town, and so on. And it started to grow because the Christians heard the stories. Oh, it helped us so much. And I learned to do, and I'm doing now, and we have new convert here and there, and so on. So at the moment, there are over 700 alumni in Czech and Slovak republics, alumni of the training. So that was kind of, it was not breakthrough. It's still developing, that the Christians are learning how to connect with the non-believers effective way, how to share the gospel, and all these the tools basically that help them to connect and start discovery Bible studies. And what Danny said about the media to movement, there are many people from the legacy churches who would like to see new people coming to Christ, but didn't know what to do, how to connect, how to, for example, in our country, one of the most important tools is get rid of your Christian language. There are only 2 words left which we are using frequently, and it's Jesus and Bible. If you say, hi, I'm a Christian, so I say, go and ask the people on the street what jumps in their mind if you say, I'm a Christian. And as we did that a few times, I say, oh, it's not me. You could explain, but by explaining, you make yourself clever and them less intelligent if they don't know the basic words. So explaining doesn't work in our country because, they feel inferior. So we needed to exchange the vocabulary for ordinary, normal language, which people would understand, would grasp the basic idea. So that's one of the things we do in the training, by the way, to exchange all the words. We have a list of like 20 words you might feel as important to explain the gospel. But if you ask the non-believers what this word means, like salvation, and even being a Christian, and so on, then okay, I cannot use these. How can I say that differently so that they would grasp the main idea, not the theological depth, but the main idea? And as we change this, it's so easy to speak with them. I'm driving a car and talking with Jesus. With whom? What? How are you doing it? So I don't say I pray or let me pray for you. My guy would say, oh, what are you going to do? Because they have no idea what real prayer is. They have some idea maybe from some movie or something, reciting something. So I don't say I will pray for you. I say, I'm talking with Jesus while driving a car or doing anything. What? And they start asking. That's what I want.
So in our network, I think there would be like 60 to 70% people coming to Jesus, like from unbelieving families. I would say, especially in the young like youth churches, we have about 3 or 4 like youth churches, and most of these people have come to Christ like through personal relationship, or we also organize like English camps during the summer, where we meet from different churches as leaders, and we invite like anyone who wants to learn English. So we have seen
Non-believers.
a lot of people, non-believers, coming to Jesus. But also this like whole week together is a great way to really work on leadership development and on the community, on the network part. And it's great that, for example, if we have discussions with unbelievers after, like in the evenings, it's not only about the discussion, but we try to do it in like a discovery style, so that then after the camp, when we say, okay, in your city we are doing discovery Bible study, or you can join this simple church, or we call it God's Families. So I think through so most of the people are from unbelieving families.
Mm.
So
Anyway,
the idea is that there are some developmental stages that people start around the Word of God, and only when there is some rhythm coming together and so on, then we feel, and the fellowship develops, that this is the core. Then we say, okay, let's read the Acts 2 and do the study there and so on. Is we are a church. So I would probably say my part, as we moved to Prague, and we moved there, and it's not just working in Prague. My task in this stage of life, because I know quite many Christians, is to spread the vision that the nation can be reached. And those who have been through the training, Bridges to People, would confirm, at least we started Discovery Bible Study with non-believers, and it was like surprise. No one believed, but they came and they listened. But some have stories, they did believe, and they, their lives is changing. But with some of the new people coming from outside, it's like, they don't want to go to our legacy church. What should I do? And we say, just start a church around them. Maybe even in their home, or in the coffee shop where they are going quite regularly. Just open the Bibles there. And that's what we do, by the way. The Discovery in Prague, everything is happening in coffee shops. So the vision is, if the movement which we have would develop further, but in the last, let's say, I don't know, since Steve Smith inspired us, we have a vision to inspire the legacy church to go out and be with people, not just do events. It's good, fine, but you need to be with the people out there, and they start new Discovery Bible studies. And we have another, besides Bridges to People, we have Steps Towards Movement, kind of small training, where we speak about, this small group can become a church. And that's very, very biblical. So we explain it there from the book of Acts and some other passages and some stories of our own and from history. So that's the vision, that even maybe there is 0.3% of evangelical Christians. Some say very optimistically 0.5% of the population are evangelical Christians. So I don't know how many of them are active in sharing their faith effectively. But that's my part of my vision, is how can we teach them to do that, so that they would reach their neighbors and colleagues and so on. And it's happening because we want to see our movement grow. And that's why I need to be active with non-believers and help them and start new churches, which in Prague we started 2. And some young people who are around us started another 2, which is so good. But we want the people, the Christians from the legacy churches, maybe to develop their existing churches. But if the people don't come to your church, start a church with them wherever they are.
Well, thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the Movements podcast, why don't you get the word out to the people you know who would be interested? Thanks. I'm Steve Addison for the Movements podcast.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.